In this video, we'll look at display configurations in SoundCheck. Let's open up the memory list, and in the top right corner, notice the lock icon. Also, in the display window, we see an option to lock display. If this is enabled, you can no longer close display windows. This can be useful if you're running a sequence where you aren't expecting to do any editing. If it's locked, there's no chance of accidentally closing windows, then needing to go back and edit the step and create a new display. If you need to edit again, simply unlock it. Note here, some login levels don't have access to edit steps. If somebody has previously logged in as a technician or operator, and you can't seem to close your windows, double check this lock setting and make sure you're allowed to make changes. In the display dropdown, there's also an option to save a display as a template. Here I've gone through the trouble of creating and organizing all the windows that I want to display, and I don't want to do it again. I can click Display, Save as Template, give it a new name, and I look back in my sequence editor. Under Display Templates, I'll see Speaker Test Display. If I wanted to then add a second display into the sequence using this exact configuration, I could drop it in. When using displays though, it's important not to have multiple steps with the same exact name. It makes it hard to find through the tabs and make sure that you're actually editing the step that you want to be editing. Now you'll notice up at the top, I have two different tabs, one for Speaker Test Display 1 and one for 2. If I want to edit one or the other, I can very easily see which one I'm on by the tab that I have selected. Instead of duplicating an entire display step, we could also duplicate just a single display. Here in the display menu, instead of Save as Template, we can select Duplicate. This will take whatever active window we have and duplicate the exact settings, the size, the preferences, everything except which data is actually being displayed on it. So if I configure a graph or a table to be exactly the way I want, I could go through and duplicate it many times. If we found a display that we like better than SoundCheck's default, we could go in, make all the changes we want to it, and then select, instead of duplicate, Set as Default. Now every time we open a display of that type, it will open up with those exact same configurations. Again, it will copy the size, the color, and any other preferences except which data is being displayed on that display type. By default, when we rerun display steps, or steps in general, it takes everything that was previously calculated, removes it from memory, and then displays the new data that we're seeing. If we wanted to compare multiple runs across each other on a display step, we can use the Protect feature. Here, if I highlight Fundamental, right-click, and in the Protect menu, I can select Protect. This will change my curve from being sequence data with a filled circle to protected data with a check mark. It gives it a new name down in the memory list. If I ran my sequence, the test data with the circle will keep getting overridden, but my protected data will not. We also have the option to automate this. What if on every run, I wanted to display every run we've taken so far? Instead of just protecting the data, I could right-click and auto-protect it. Now every time my sequence runs, every auto-protected curve will create a protected curve in the memory list. If we look at Fundamental here, we can see it's auto-protected by, instead of a circle, it's a diamond shape. Every time we run the sequence, it will give us a protected curve with a check mark next to it and display it on the same graph. To auto-protect data, it must be on a display step. If you aren't on a display, say if you're in offline, then you won't even see the auto protect option. Similar to protecting, we could also rename. This will protect the data in the exact same way as clicking Protect Data, but it'll first prompt you to choose a new name. This can be a little bit easier to keep track of different runs. Maybe if I test something and I want to see if it's better in position A versus position B, rename my fundamental and give it some context, rerun it again, and compare the two. This is a little bit more of a manual process, but if you're just quickly wanting to A/B something on the same graph, renaming or protecting is a great way to do that. In the next video, we'll take a look at setting default colors in SoundCheck display steps.